Welcome to Book Club for Movies. It's the second professional podcast of the week. It's August 2nd. I'm Ryan Miller. What does he dream of? It's Matt Ambird.
Thank you for having me. Once again, lovely to be here.
Yeah.
And if I may say, happy August.
Oh, thank you. You're the first person to wish me that, possibly because it's July 30th, but it's a little inside baseball.
I do not understand baseball even a little bit.
It's August 2nd. Don't listen to Professional Ryan.
Professional Ryan, pro Rye.
This is Book Club for Movies, where we watch one movie a week. That's all. Just one. Don't watch any more. And then we talk about it. You can send us an email, podcast at bookclubformovies.com, or Twitter or Facebook. We don't care how. You just get it to us, and then we talk about it.
We'll tell you what you think, and then we'll tell you what we think.
This week, we did something a little different than we've done in the past. Different for us.
Different for everybody.
We watched a documentary.
We did.
Jiro Jiro.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's pronounced Gyro. Is that right?
Like the video game Gyrocopter.
Mm-hmm. Or the Mediterranean cuisine.
Mm-hmm. The gyro. Delicious lamb.
I got to eat lunch before we do these things.
It would be a good idea. I should do that too.
Jiro Dreams of Sushi.
He does.
Matt.
Yes.
Do we do a synopsis for documentaries?
I have. I absolutely have. I've got the whole thing. I'm ready to go.
Love it. Go.
Here we go. Jiro Dreams of Sushi. It's going to come in at an hour and 21 minutes. It is written by Documentary. Directed by David Gelb, starring Jiro Ono, Yoshikazu Ono, and Masahiro Yamamoto. And here is your Jiro Dreams of Sushi synopsis. As 85-year-old Jiro Ono continues to perfect the art of sushi at his restaurant, Tsukiyaba Shihiro, his son, Yoshikazu, faces the pressure of becoming more than his father's son.
Like how you still use the action movie voice.
I gotta use my terrible trailer voice. In a world. I should actually, you know what? That's it. I should start every one of these from now on with in a world where 85-year-old Jiro Ono continues to perfect the art of sushi at his restaurant.
Jiro Dreams of Sushi. This is a documentary. You had seen this before. You recommended it to me. Actually, we kind of met in the middle here because I was feeling documentary. We hadn't done it yet, and it seemed interesting. I have like 5 lined up that I've just never done because I got to be in the mood. It seems like once in a blue mood.
Mm-hmm.
I do one.
It's a mood ring.
And you recommended one to me that I had heard about but never seen, and I'm very glad you did. Because to me, there's 2 types of documentaries, and maybe, I don't know how much of our viewing audience needs a primer on documentaries, obviously, but
let's get your perspective.
Okay, well, see, documentaries to me, I feel like go one of 2 ways. Actually, that's not true. There's plenty of room in the middle.
All right, so this is all going badly.
Documentaries, I think, on their face, are easily misunderstood because people think they don't have a point of view or aren't written or even maybe directed from time to time. That's an easier one. Each documentary is going to have a director because each documentary has a cameraman. But documentaries do often have a point of view. A lot of the best ones do.
Right. And the other thing to note about documentaries is they are notorious for the amount of footage that is captured. And
Sure.
Keeping in mind that a lot of these things, a documentarian will go in with a thought process behind it and say, this is the movie I'm trying to make. But once they get the footage and get into the editing bay, the story, the through line that comes through may not be what they were aiming for, which I think speaks to what you're talking about, where sometimes you go with the intent of making a movie like this and something you totally different came out, you know?
Very often you hear the whole Michelangelo David thing where they have to find the movie in there. You know, Michelangelo had to find David in that block of marble. Well, and whatever it is. I don't know. I wasn't there.
And I think actually, funny enough, the fellows over at the Only Movie podcast They did a
which is funny when we mention it. Maybe even funnier, actually.
yeah.
Unless I guess you don't consider us a movie podcast.
Well, we're a book club podcast.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So
it still holds.
Yeah. So we're totally different than them in every respect, including professionalism and smarts. But they did a panel a few years back at PAX, and on the panel they had a film. One of the other people that was there was a director who made a film about the fighting game scene in New York.
Oh, that's right. I actually totally forgot about that.
And one of the things that that particular director brought up, and these two guys kind of followed through, was exactly that. The movie he thought he was making was not what ended up coming out of the editing bay. What he found was the movie he thought he was going to make was kind of boring, and it just wasn't really that interesting, but there was something else in the footage that was, and he was able to turn that into more, and turn that into something else.
It happens. I don't think Hero is necessary. I mean, I guess I don't know because I didn't Wikipedia this thing like a good boy. But do you know a lot about the making of this thing?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. As long as we're both completely clueless. But back to one of two types of documentaries that's not true. There are some, and I did get one other in. I mean, my grand idea was to watch all of the documentaries on my queue and kind of talk about them in that fashion. That
was grand.
Yeah. But in viewing them, there are kind of two different ways-ish. And again, there's lots of middle ground here. But there are documentaries that are about more than meets the eye. They're about Transformers in the strictest sense. There's two documentaries, some that are about more greater than the sum of their parts, as it were, and then some that are for as good as they look. And I feel like there's a lot more of these nowadays since kind of filmmaking and good equipment has become more available. Like you can buy a good DSLR and you might already have one that you can shoot amazing footage on,
Right.
But are more about kind of getting information across. They're about an event or a subject that is just intensely interesting almost no matter what.
An inconvenient truth.
I've never seen that, but that is a good example. Hero, as we'll call it from here on out, is about so much freaking more than sushi, right?
One of the things that I love about this movie is this movie has a very delineated, for me, 3-act structure that's really kind of almost more of a 4-act structure. And but it's really, really clear how this movie, and again, this goes back to, if this is how it came out in the editing bay and they had this vision, man, I don't know. I don't know how hard they had to look for some of this, because none of this comes off as it doesn't feel directed, even when you can hear the director talking to them, because there are a number of scenes throughout the movie where the dialogue kind of dies down for a moment, and then the director asks something, and then there's a response. But it really feels like in almost every section of this movie, it was just prodding. It was pushing just enough to ask the question, but no more. Not trying to get a direction out of it.
You get the feeling they did not have to do a ton of that, yeah.
At all.
I mean, I can see why they would come at this, because when they come into Hero in his restaurant, it's already well established, and they begin the movie with a guy walking in and asking if they need reservations, and they're like, yeah, you can only eat here with reservations. And he's like, okay, where does it begin at? And I think it was 30 or 40,000 yen, which I looked up. It's close to $300 to get a reservation. I don't even know if that's buying food at that point.
No, that's their base price. You are spending $300 and I believe my understanding of that was per person.
It's not for your party. No, and your party's super small. The whole restaurant's super small.
Only 10 seats.
And this is also after his Michelin rating, which I didn't know was a huge thing, I guess, for restaurants. Michelin has a rating body wherein, was it 3 stars is maximum or 5 stars?
3 is the
3.
Yeah.
And nobody gets 3. Nobody.
It's very rare.
3.
It's really hard to get 3 stars at the Michelin rating.
And he's got the 3. So the restaurant is established. I can see why a documentarian would look at that thing and be like, I would love to kind of talk about this a little bit more. how much fell into his lap when he got in there and started talking to Hiro, who is just a golden person.
Yeah, no,
I don't know, but he was probably pretty happy either way.
Hiro is a very fascinating subject unto himself, which again, this movie is so much more than him. And it's much more than the restaurant. It is, but it's about all of that, and he is fascinating because he did come from such a different place. Like, he's got a different mindset, and it's very much so a, it seems to me like a mindset that just doesn't really exist in a lot of places, or continues to exist and has died off. And it's kind of that mentality of, you find the work that you love and you throw yourself into it and you never leave it because that's why you chose it. And you just don't see that as much anymore. I don't do that. I do not throw myself into my work because I throw myself into you, the viewer.
Dave Matthews? Oh, sure.
Yeah. I don't crash. I'm careful.
I think this movie's a lot about that too. Like there's a little bit of dying art to it. Mm-hmm. And there's a word they use over and over that I looked up, and I guess the translation isn't great on it. It roughly translates to craftsman, but they don't translate it in the subtitles at all. It's shokunin, which the craftsman doesn't measure up because it means so much more. Like there's a big old long definition to it, and everybody's like, you could say craftsman, but it means like,
but it's book. Incredibly insulting and demeaning.
But I think it's good enough for what we're going to talk about, because especially speaking of artisanship in this way, like that's the kind of lost thing here. Like this movie is very much about family. It's about legacy. It does include his son probably just as much. He figures into the documentary as much as Hiro does.
Well, I think that's the kind of the second act of the film really is his. Yeah, because it does. It focuses on the introduction to the movie is here is Hiro. This is the man that has been doing this. He's 85 years old. He's been doing he does not believe he's made the best piece of sushi yet. He has never made the perfect piece of sushi, and that's his goal. And then that's why he loves doing it. And then the second part of the movie kind of shows up. And his son is more introduced, but two of his sons actually. Right. One of them who was like, who based on Japanese culture would never have been the head chef at Hiro's restaurant. So he's left. Not
the oldest.
Right. So he left. Whereas,
but he did give him his own restaurant. He heads up his own. It's exactly like Hiro's restaurant in a different city.
Yeah, and it's a literally exact copy, except it's flipped to the other side because his father is left-handed and he's not.
He is right-handed. Yeah.
But his other son, Yoshikazu, he's going to be the head chef, and throughout the movie, you are very much given this feeling that Yoshikazu's in his 50s. And he doesn't feel like he's reached where he needs to be for his father to retire comfortably. Like, he doesn't feel that way. And as you go through the movie, his father, like, you see him correct him. And he always takes it constructively, but there's a lot of correction. And then there are a couple of moments where he doesn't, it's not that he corrects his father, it's just that he has the right answer before he needs correction, Yeah.
It's woven in, and it's not so, I think, until the end. The ending is very much Yoshikazu's as well.
Yes.
But they talk about how Hiro had a heart attack, and it resulted in him not going to the market anymore. And that's also where a lot of the whole kind of lost art thing comes into it, because the sushi has exploded in popularity. There's less available to everybody else because everybody overall, because everybody's doing it.
The overfishing becomes
overfishing.
It becomes a note that's, at the time they bring it up to, is really, really well done. They do a good job of making that a poignant part, saying that not only is the art lost and that so much of this effort goes in, but because there's so much, without saying it, because there's so much crap out there, there's not
you can say it. There's bad sushi in the world.
There's bad sushi. Nobody wants the bad sushi, man.
I might not have had any yet, but I'm sure there is. There's got to be.
You can have bad sushi, my dude.
So yeah, there is a through line where Yoshi's bringing on more and more responsibility, and they spend some time on the. Are they apprentices? Are they full on apprentices? They're the other employees at the restaurant.
Yeah, the way it read to me is that they're all considered apprentices, and that they're doing different jobs as apprentices.
Sometimes single jobs. One of my favorite parts was the thing on the egg dude, who's like, I tried to make this egg thing. I call it a thing because I just can't pronounce what it actually is. I actually have it at my favorite poke restaurant whenever I go.
Tamago. It's a form of tamago.
It is yes, that's it.
I just don't remember what the.
But the dude he said he made like 200 that were all rejected before Hiro was like, all right, you got it.
and then when he gets it, he's like, and I just wanted to cry.
Yeah, he's like, I had to hide my emotions even, but he's like, I wanted to pump my fist in the air or whatever.
Yeah. It was funny. No, and that's one of the things that throughout the movie, the people they talk to, including the people at the fish market, the fish market people, there's some fascinating scenes in there where they're talking to the shop owners, and the shop owners are like, yeah, we don't sell to everybody. We only sell to specific people.
Right.
And it's important that somebody like Hiro, who's been coming here forever, and we have a rapport with him that we're going to sell him the best fish. We're going to sell him what he needs.
Top to bottom, speaking of lost art, like, it seems like a weird way to put it, but it's all analog, right? Like, this is all like tradition.
Yeah,
it's craftsmanship. It's like the tuna dude they talk to forever. It like does tuna in this masterful way. Like he only buys this certain amount, this certain kind from this certain people, and I think he has first choice whenever he does it or something like that. They spend a lot of time at the market. They spend time with the shrimp guy who doesn't have as many good lines. I feel like, especially if the line they pulled was you have to hold the shrimp or it gets away.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
Hey, it's good info.
And then my favorite of all those guys, and this wasn't at the market, but they show the rice dude later. The guy he gets all the rice from.
The rice dude is the best.
He's amazing. He walks in, like, has not combed his hair in I don't know how many years. Like, he's got straight up bedhead just popping out the back.
Yeah, he's just like, hey, we doing rice today or what's up? And he's like, he's older than Hiro.
It might be.
The guy's got to be at least 85, 86.
It's just, it's all so amazing because every step of the way is a tradesman, is an artisan, is a craftsman who just knows the skill. This isn't a thing nowhere. The internet doesn't fix or replicate any of this, basically.
Right.
Is that make more sense? I don't know.
No, for sure. And I mean, it's like the rice guy is funny because he also talks about how he won't sell the rice to other people, even though they'll ask for it, because they'll specifically say, we want the same rice that Hiro is using. And he'll say no, because it takes knowledge and it takes a lot of understanding of how to cook this particular rice.
It's like, what good is it going to do you if you can't cook it?
Yeah. And then they go back and they talk about how the way they cook it is under a tremendous amount of pressure, that they've built these kind of like things that cause the pressure cooker to have even more pressure on it. And like there's an art to it, and they one of the things throughout the movie that the director chose, and I think it was a really, really smart choice. Anytime anybody is doing anything that has to do with craftsmanship, including simple things like writing, they focus on the hands. You get like
the directions.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah,
and you get these things and you watch like Hiro, you watch Yoshikazu, you watch these people form sushi and it looks like it's nothing. It just like they're just smashing their hands together. You see them push down on a couple spots and then bam, it's on the plate.
Gorgeously though.
And
I've never been so hungry in my life.
No, it's oh my god,
movie.
yeah. Do not watch this movie if you're hungry. That's number one. But towards the end of the film, Hiro says something that is really, really kind of funny and fascinating and interesting, and it goes back to the how much goes into being an apprentice, and that's he outright says, I get all of the credit. I do the easiest job here. I just make you I make you the thing you eat. He's like, the sushi is 90% done when it gets to me.
Right.
I just form it. Like it's all there. And it goes back to the apprentices, like they talk about how much work that these guys have to do. And one of the ones that he says is they have to spend 45 minutes to 50 minutes massaging octopus so that it's not chewy. And
he says like 15 to 20 is standard, I think, or something like that.
He's at 30.
Like
he
a
said
lot
he
of it is him going the extra mile. No, but like other restaurants do it for this amount of time.
Oh,
he
sure,
basically
yeah,
doubled that amount of time. He's like, I do it for twice as long.
And it's better than everybody else's. You know?
I believe it is. The most depressing part about this movie is I'm never gonna find out.
Yeah, you never know. You could find out. We can go to Japan.
Know.
Let's go.
Oh, I would love to find out. I would pay the money to find out. Probably, I guess.
Which is kind of funny. So the speaking of the Michelin stars and that exact thing, the paying Michelin stars when a restaurant is awarded 3 stars, that is for the restaurateur world and for food world, that's essentially enough of a mark to say people should spend their money coming here to this country specifically for this
they do
food.
mention that, yeah.
And they mention that. And that's like, you're talking about Tokyo here where Japan, where there is a number of places that are out of this world. And this place, I love it. It's at like the bottom, it's in the basement of like a building.
It's in downtown, what looks like downtown Tokyo, which is just stacks upon stacks,
Right, yeah. Going back to what you said at the beginning, you said exactly the word that I have written down like 3 times in a row. Legacy, legacy, legacy. This movie is in so many ways it is about legacy. It's about working for what you have and being happy in the work that you're doing. And I think one of the major themes that I think comes up and it's pervasive. It's pervasive in everything that Hiro says. It's everything that Yoshikazu says. Everything that everybody they interview for this movie says the same thing, and that all of them are continuing, no matter how old they are, to learn things, to become better at their craft, because dedication is the only way to become the best. And one of the guys, he's a fish chooser. He's the one that he picks fish out, and which is fish chooser. I guess that was self-explanatory.
Yeah.
and one of the things he calls out, and I think it might be the same tuna guy actually. He says that he will only buy the best tuna. For example, if there are 10 tuna, only one of them can be the best. So he's going to pick the best one, and if he can't find one to his liking, he just won't buy anything. And the rice guy says something kind of similar. And at one point, Hiro actually says, I have no idea if these people actually know what they're talking about.
No,
I just hope so.
I think that line is super important. I was going to mention it too. He says something. He talks the guy up. He's like, this guy knows so much about rice. Sometimes I wonder if he's making it all up.
Right. Yes.
Right. Which has to, and maybe it's just the time we live in and the people we are, being so far removed from a lot of artisanship, if that's a real word. I feel like
it is
artisansness.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of instances throughout this film where you're like, that quote too. If there's 10 fish, one of them has to be the best. Well, does it? Like, is that
right? Like
statistically, does that really how it works out? And then there's all the preparation techniques. And the one thing they don't get into is they get into technique more than they get into recipes, which obviously they would. So there's a little secret sauce, so to speak, there.
Sure,
but it has to enter into your mind at some point, like, is this for real? I guess. Like, is that, did you ever doubt? Did you ever wonder?
Is he really the sushi Terminator that just will not stop? He does not sleep.
Like, if you went to eat it, would it really blow your mind? Would it really be worth the money we'd have to spend to get there?
You know what? It's one of those, okay. I fully admit this. This is something about myself that I am not proud of, I guess. I do love really like a good high end restaurant, and we don't go very often.
Oh, okay.
It's really hard because they're expensive. But I will go and spend that. We have gone out and spent that $500 and had an 8-course meal. And I've had things there that, yeah, man, it was just, here's a prime rib or whatever. What the hell did you do to this to make this not a piece of crap that I found at a bar on the floor? Like there. And so, yeah, do I think that a going somewhere like this would be worth just the basic $300 and then however much you spend for yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I'd be willing to bet.
So, and I think that's one of the movie's answers really is that like the quote I pulled from the middle of the movie, and the first 2 lines in the movie are fantastic as well. They mention taste, and I didn't write them down. He
says, taste is tough to explain, isn't it? That's the first line of the movie.
It's perfect stage setter. And then I think pretty close to the center comes this one. It says, quote, "In order to make delicious food, you must eat delicious food. The quality of ingredients is important, but one must develop a palate capable of discerning good and bad. Without good taste, you can't make good food."
Yeah, I absolutely, I agree with that. That makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense about food, but read that 30 times and tell me that isn't about life. Like the movie is about life.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I like that it's funny because one of the quotes that Masahiro Yamamoto, who's a food critic, that's his gig. And you
enter the movie largely through him. Like there's a lot of Hiro speaking directly to camera, but he's kind of the narrator, I guess you could say, the food critic.
And in some ways he almost translates what Hiro is trying to get across in some ways. Like he's a little
bit of a bridge.
It's for sure. But he has a quote, and it's I think that also just fits so much is ultimate simplicity leads to purity. And he's talking about that when it comes to the food, because people would ask Hiro, how do you make this so good? And what it comes down to is he just does basic stuff. Like Hiro makes it very clear. They're not doing anything out of the ordinary. Their techniques and their the way they make the food, it's not a surprise. It's not hidden anywhere. It's not a secret. And they even mention that. Yeah, Yoshikazu mentions it. He's like, what we do isn't a secret. Other people just don't do it.
Right. We
spend the time. That's what we do, which is why we only have 10 seats. Why we're booking out a month in advance.
Right, yeah.
They're putting in all that extra effort to make a very simple thing as pure and as beautiful as possible. Like that's
couldn't have said it better.
There is one thing in the movie that did leave a bad taste in my mouth.
What? So to speak.
Yeah.
What?
And the reasoning I think is mostly it's a cultural thing. And I think it comes down to a cultural thing. One of the last things that Hiro says is he's talking about Yoshikazu, and he's talking about one of the like kind of overarching things is whether or not Yoshikazu is ever going to even get close to being as good of a chef as his father. And so many say that you have to be, even if one of the guys that they're interviewing says if Yoshikazu is twice the chef Hiro is, he will still only be seen as an equal.
Sure. If he's an equal, he will be seen as
lesser.
Lesser, yeah.
Right. And one of the things that Hiro says is that he can definitely be a great sushi chef. He could be better than he is now. He should just keep doing the same thing for the rest of his life.
Right.
And like there's a couple of things going on here. Number one, if you love something as much as Hiro seems to love doing what he was doing, makes perfect sense. Totally makes sense. Culturally, it probably, I don't know enough about Japanese culture to know if this is kind of the standard. Like that's a thing where you've been given the choice, sure. you followed, and I'm sure that culture's shifting, but I'm wondering the culture that Hiro came from, that he's kind of instilled through his parenting style, which interesting. You go back to the again earlier on in the movie, you find out that he at 9. He was kicked out of his house essentially and told you have no home to come back to. And then he had no father after the age of 7. He disappeared.
Right.
So maybe there's a cultural thing there, but I always, when anybody for any reason is like, just keep doing the same thing for the rest of your life, I just can't ever get behind that as good advice. Like that things have to change. You have to evolve at some point. And, and the thing is, even Hiro can't take that own advice because he hasn't. He's talked like throughout the movie, he talks about how things have changed, how he's doing the same things, but he's learning all the time to change technique.
I think the movie plays with that tension because there's a little bit in there where it talks about how Yoshikazu likes fast cars, and he has a car that goes 300 miles an hour, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like something Hiro probably would never do,
right?
And might not even approve of necessarily, So I get what you're saying. I think that's part of the question the movie asks, or part of what.
Yeah. I agree. I already agree with that, but give me the rest of it.
The question it answers is whether or not Yoshikazu can follow in his father's footsteps. And I believe it very much answers that and says yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily answer the question of whether or not he is that because he's going to be exactly like his father. Like, I think it does show you that he's forging his own path. And there is a tension between how it was done and how it's done now and what traditions he will keep on with. Like, I have no doubt Yoshikazu will keep doing the food exactly the way his father has always done it.
Sure.
And so I think what the movie does is it leaves some things open-ish because, I mean, that's a good movie, like.
But life is also open, you
exactly.
don't really know how
movie,
what they're gonna do. And the other part of the question regarding Yoshikazu and whether or not he can become or can be a better sushi chef than his dad is when Masahiro Yamamoto, towards the end of the movie, says, after the Michelin star was awarded,
right,
I had actually heard and it was explained that Yoshikazu was the one who prepared all the sushi for them and actually served them, and it wasn't actually Hiro.
And that's definitely one of the ways it answers definitively yes,
and
Yoshi's got it.
And one of the great moments in that movie with that is not only that kind of reveal, because I was not, it's not built up to be a reveal. There's never a question. It just kind of happens. And when it happened, there's just this kind of like, for me, it was almost one of those that like, and the way they cut it is so perfect because he says the line and then they cut to Yoshi walking out of the fish market with like 2 bags, putting bags in his bike and getting ready to bike back to the restaurant.
It's really, really, and we haven't talked about this enough, maybe, as fantastic as the subject matter is and how just applicable and transcendent all that is, it's a really well-made movie.
Totally.
Just fantastic. There's a whole spot where Hiro likens his sushi preparation to music. I think it's, if you're eating good sushi, it's like you're listening to music. Actually, this might have been the critic. Is
the critic. He talks about how it's an orchestra. Gotcha. and they go through and he talks about the different movements.
Yes. Yeah. And then it shows him, putting out the sushi in 3 separate movements. And then he talks a little bit about off the cuff, Hiro just standing there, how he'll adjust depending on how the customer eats, notice if they're right or left-handed. And anyways, it's really, really well made, that bit especially as well.
Yeah.
So it's worth watching all the way around.
Definitely. This is an absolutely terrific documentary. If you enjoy documentaries, it's only an hour and 20 minutes. I mean, this is fast too. And it's especially if you're a food lover, if you like sushi, if you've never really had sushi, I mean, this is a great thing to watch.
Sushi's amazing. Like I said, I've never been hungrier. I watch this with my wife. She probably still hasn't eaten.
Yeah. No, I may actually go get sushi tonight for dinner because
like there were moments I looked at her and she was just like looking at her phone and it wasn't like I'm watching one of your dumb movies with you again, looking at her phone thing. It was I can't look at the picture that's on the screen anymore thing.
Because I'm going to eat the television.
No, she does not like sushi. This was an opposite example. Yeah.
That's even better. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was.
I definitely want to take your wife and you out for sushi dinner.
5 stars.
Out of 5.
It's very traditional.
You get 5 Michelin
Yeah.
You get 5 Matt and Ryan stars out of 5. That's cool. Jiro Dreams of Sushi. It's streaming on Netflix now. I think we should stick with the documentary bit here, and we're gonna go ahead and choose another documentary.
Let's keep it in the family.
Yep. This one, our book club for movies selection for next week, gonna be the John Travolta Nick Cage documentary Face Off.
Face Off.
Face Off.
Face/off.
Face/off. Don't slash your face off just yet. Face Off is gonna be the movie we watch. It comes out 1997. It is not streaming anywhere right now, so you're probably gonna have to rent it or find it in your video library from
your
2006.
Your local video stores got that on VHS. That's how I saw
you could definitely watch it. It's gonna be real good. John Woo coming at you.
And stay tuned for a John Woo discussion of sorts. I think I'm going to use this as an excuse to watch Hard Boiled, which has been on my list for a zillion years.
It's really good, and I do love that movie. And I think I'm going to use this as a jumping off point for watching Mom and Dad, because it's a Nick Cage movie I've been wanting to see.
Nice.
And so I think we're going to... The Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. So tune in next week to listen to us chow the fat even more. Why don't we now do the rest of the show? What are the movies did you watch this week?
Here is a disappointing situation.
Oh, whoa?
There are no movies this week.
Listen, okay, at the top of the show where I say only watch one movie a week, it was a complete joke because we usually watch more. I thought you were going to watch Rampage. What's going on there?
Again, had people over, then got depressed.
People don't like Rampage?
I didn't talk about that on this show. I forgot to mention.
Depression doesn't like Rampage?
I was having this week, we had people over, and then my wife left, and I just went into this bad depression-y spiral, and I did not watch any movies outside of sushi film.
Okay, well, let me see if I can lift your spirits here a little.
Spirit lifting.
I did get one other documentary in, and to me, it falls a little bit more in the other category that I so painfully explained earlier in the show, where it's kind of mostly about getting information across, but the situation is so fascinating. It's called Doomed.
Ghostbusters. Oh.
Again, our concept of documentaries on the show is maybe a little
correct
misunderstood. Doomed, the untold story of Roger Corman's The Fantastic Four.
Oh, yeah, Roger Corman. We love Roger Corman.
We do. Roger Corman. If fans of Mystery Science Theater 3000 will know Roger Corman.
Every movie they've ever made.
That's instructive, I guess, because he had a history of being very prolific, but being very kind of straight to video. He did a lot of those, Mystery Science Theater type movies.
He was a B movie guy.
Yeah. And unabashedly. So the movie is about him, and he got the rights from a German dude that had the rights to the Fantastic Four somehow. They didn't really go into that. And again, I didn't Wikipedia like a good boy here. But they had to make this Fantastic Four movie or they would lose the rights.
Lose the rights.
It's a Spider-Man situation here.
Correct. It's the Fox thing.
So they put this thing together relatively quickly, casted it out. The story, like I said, is fascinating. I don't necessarily need to go into all that. But what this documentary is good for is getting an eye into that business and also getting an eye into how those actors became invested in this thing that anybody sees it, they say it never looked good, right? Like this thing looks horrible all the time. Everybody always says, and this is coming out in the midst of the Marvel Punisher, the first Punisher movie, the Captain America, like Marvel Studios is but a glimmer in a garbage can somewhere.
That's true. But let's never ever forget that Avi Arad, who's still working for them, also produced the David Hasselhoff starring Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. So.
Oh, man. I did forget about that.
Yeah, don't forget. Never forget. 9/11.
But the actors were excited about this thing because, number one, they were told or were led to believe that it was going to have a theatrical release. So not only was it a Roger Corman joint, but they had over $1 million for this thing, and they became invested in it. It became something they put hope into as a launching point for their careers. Again, talking about the actors here. So the movie goes through how, it makes a case. It makes a case for you seeing that thing and being like, oh, okay, I could see how they would actually be excited about this thing. I could see how at some point they didn't know this was going to be a B movie, or this wasn't going to be, look as bad as it does. So in that way, it's really interesting, because I think, especially, dealing with a zillion movies a day here, you can look at something like that and be like, oh, look how horrible that is. Look how stupid that is.
Sure.
But they didn't think that. In fact, they had their heart and soul put into it, and they all seem like a really brilliant cast. Like, it has the kid who you'll recognize like right off the bat, even though you may have only seen him in Uncle Buck playing Johnny Storm.
Yep, Macaulay Culkin.
He probably wouldn't be excited at that, but no, it was.
No.
Yeah, who wouldn't be excited at that, actually?
Jay Underwood.
Jay Underwood. It is Jay Underwood.
Oh, he was the kid that that's dating the girlfriend.
You'll recognize
dating
him
the daughter.
immediately. Yeah, it's very good. We should do
Uncle Buck should
Uncle
happen.
Buck, yeah.
Yes.
We could do an Uncle Buck Great Outdoors double.
Oh, now you're now. Okay,
I shouldn't have. Okay, sorry.
We're doing it.
The rest of the actors are relatively unknown. I hadn't heard of them before. Alex Hyde White played Mr. Fantastic. Joseph Culp was Dr. Doom. Fantastic, just theatrical actor, guy.
Michael Bailey Smith is the one you don't mention who plays Thing, and he's the only one who had a career that I knew about, because he was in a bunch of horror movies and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, two people played the Thing? There was a guy in the suit and a guy not in the suit.
Yes, the guy not in the suit.
Oh, okay, right. So Ben Grimm.
And also the guy in the suit.
The Thing was played by the guy in a Vice from Casino, come to find out.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's not fantastically made. This is no hero here. There's no hero here in this superhero movie. But it's done well enough, and again, the information is so just interesting, especially if you're a movie buff, that it's both sad, crushing, it's a real roller coaster, and a ton of fun. Definitely recommended. Other movie I want to mention for a second, which I probably could have done during our Ready Player One discussion, but my kids watched it again this week, was The Iron Giant.
One of, if not the best animated movies of all time.
Okay.
Gonna go ahead and say that right there.
Which I am just gonna go ahead and say then that it is a directorial, technological, visually amazing thing.
Yeah.
Brad Bird, no, it's no wonder.
And do not, I don't care who you are. I don't care. I do not care. You could be Charles Manson. I don't care.
I think I'm going to be Charles Manson after this, but go ahead.
Everybody gets a little, oh man. Yeah, you get something out of Superman. You got to.
Okay, sure. That was good. I'm going to Charles Manson you here. I think everything else, I think the construction of that story is hackneyed. I think it's I think it's manipulative in what it tries to do with kind of its tear jerking, in some of those moments. But I think it's missing beats also. It skips entire moments to get you there, and it seems insincere, maybe because of that or because of everything. And I like the performances, and I wish Harry Connick was in more things.
Oh man, yeah.
But
I like him as a psycho and copycat.
As far as the actual heart to that movie, I do not think it has one.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'll have to go back and rewatch it, but I probably will
man.
vehemently disagree with you on that one.
Might be just me.
I may very well agree on the story beats. I really don't remember, but I definitely think that there was heart to that movie.
It just seems so manufactured. Yeah. Anyways, and then I ended up at the theater, and with good reason, I looked at my wife and was like, hey, so I have special needs 11-year-old and a non-special needs, how we refer to her, 9-year-old. And I don't really, but
to her face.
Heartbreakingly enough, she did come up one day and said, I understand that I'm not special like Gray. And we're like, no, that's not, special needs is like a term that you're special. Oh my gosh. I looked at my wife and was like, hey, what if after they go to sleep, we go see a movie? We've never left the kids home alone.
Okay.
So Mission Impossible Fallout came out on Friday, or maybe before that, actually. I have no idea. It's new for the weekend. So I looked at my wife and was like, what if we try that? And we had a big long talk with Evelyn, my daughter, and she was cool with it. Waited till the kids were asleep. Went out, saw the movie, I did have to fend off a lot of texts. She did get kind of nervous. She was like, I can't sleep and all this. So
Right.
wasn't perfect, but it went fine. Towards
Sure.
the end, she fell asleep. It was all good. So I saw Mission Impossible Fallout is what I'm getting at, and took two things away from this.
Henry Cavill's mustache is amazing.
It's pretty good. And Henry Cavill, I like seeing him in a different movie. I want to see him in that gangster movie I never saw. I don't think it was a Guy Ritchie film, but it wanted to be or could have been. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It came out the same time as Straight Outta Compton, I remember, because I think they were both playing at the drive-in, and I was like, wow, that is both the whitest and blackest gangster movie playing at the same time at that drive-in right now.
The Man from U.N.C.L.E.?
Was that it?
That's a spy movie.
Maybe that was it.
But
Yeah.
and he's awesome in that. That's a cool movie.
Okay,
That was a cool TV show. That was
I don't remember.
and
the TV
no,
show.
okay, so
I remember
this
it
is
existed.
this is definitely the movie you're thinking of because and I think actually it is a Guy Ritchie movie.
Oh, okay. All right.
So yeah, no. The
Wanna see
man from U.N.C.L.E., he has the coolest name of all time, practically.
Uncle?
His name is
Uncle stands for something. I know. Sorry,
Yeah,
please.
Yeah. His name is Napoleon Solo.
Okay. All right. Pretty good.
And I'm trying to remember, he was played by, I want to say he was played by Robert Stack in the original, in the
Really?
TV show.
Wow.
I think
Okay,
that's who
it's
it
just getting
was.
better and better. Henry Cavill is okay in Mission Impossible. I think he's got obviously more range than any of the Superman films. It didn't sell some scenes for me here. Fine. I wasn't even really going to get into that. But mainly, this movie's 2 hours and 27 minutes long. Mainly.
That's a lot of movie for something that probably never needed to be that long.
That's the big takeaway, and not necessarily my favorite. We had a Mission Impossible discussion at some point. I remember because we both went through them all recently, I think.
I think I went through 1, 2, and then I don't know if I watched 3.
Maybe fell off.
And then because I watched Ghost Protocol and I was not impressed.
Oh, forgot about that one.
And then I haven't seen whatever came after Ghost
Was that
Protocol.
the last one?
I don't think so. I think the last one was.
Or,
This is the difficulty with Mission Impossible. They all kind of blend together because they're the same movie.
They are a little bit of the same movie. This is a good one overall. It's too long. Period. It's too long. Like it has two beginnings. They do like a kind of an intro thing, and then there's another intro thing, and then there's a title card. So you're like, okay, that was definitely two beginnings. The middle is good. There's some really good set pieces in there. I'm not a Cruise fan, so this means something. I'm not just,
Yep.
But the movie is good in the middle, and then it has an ending it has two openings and 4 to 5 endings. So take your pick, I guess.
Lot to work around. Yeah. So you got to watch Clue, and then you'll understand how multiple endings really work.
And I did actually. I've got Clue ready to go. Talk about it later. Maybe it's because they decide to wrap up a little bit about his wife, who he
For the love of Jeff, are they still dealing with that?
Yeah. And I think it was Ghost Protocol. They finally brought her back because in the third one she gets kidnapped, and the third one's fantastic. Third one's my favorite. In fact, we did talk order, I think, when we saw these last, and I was
we did.
Like the first one is De Palma, so we kind of like
that was still my favorite.
It's crazy. It's good in like the ways that it shouldn't be, but 3 is kind of moves better. Is more of a thrill ride. It's more of a popcorn. It's a J.J. Abrams,
right.
Almost. But yeah, this is obviously no 1, probably not a 3 either, because 3 is just a better package. It's shorter, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But this is probably better. It's better than 2, but I mean, that's not even worth mentioning. I think that's still bottom of the barrel. Ghost
Protocol.
Okay. So worth seeing. If you can find a way to, get rid of a beginning and a couple endings, you'd be better off for it.
I will never look at Mission Impossible 2 the same way after finding out, and we talked about this, but I love this weird piece of movie trivia that had Doug Ray Scott not done that movie and gotten injured making that movie, he would have been Wolverine. We never would have gotten Hugh Jackman.
The best part about that movie, possibly.
The best part of that movie was Tandy Newton.
Seriously, yes, but you're joking.
Oh, and I never am.
Okay. So yeah, the other takeaway from Mission Impossible Fallout was I walked in and looked at the concession stand because I often like to do that just to
remind yourself.
remind myself of, why I usually hate going to the movies and what a complete ripoff everything is. But they had Cheetos popcorn, Matt.
Oh, that's...
Have you tried that?
No.
There are actual Cheetos in the popcorn, which is cheese popcorn.
Huh.
I bought it. I bought a concession stand thing for the first time in I don't know how long.
Okay. And how did that work out?
They were fantastic.
So I will tell you, I also recently had a Cheeto related situation. Cheeto, they were macaroni and cheese balls that are covered in Cheeto.
Oh, yeah. Was that
not great?
No, I did the Cheetos fries at Burger King when they had those.
Haven't done those.
It's roughly the same thing. Where did you have these? Was it at an upscale restaurant?
Yes, it was 5-star.
Okay.
Michelin.
Yeah.
I got it at the Michelin. It was at the Michelin. Like I was getting new tires put on.
If we do go to Hero's restaurant in Japan, I'm showing up with some mac and cheese Cheeto balls.
Yeah, I'm
gonna throw down. I'm gonna bow and just kind of
just hand them to him. Yeah,
yep.
I'm just gonna show up as the Michelin Man.
But like in a suit or just
no, I'm gonna dress up like this. I'm gonna dress up like him, and I'm gonna have 3 stars, one on each nipple, and then one in the happy place.
Much like there's 2 kinds of documentaries, there's 2 kinds of people: the people who put on a costume to become the Michelin Man,
and the Michelin
Man. The people
Man.
who remove clothing to become a Michelin Man.
I am on the cusp. I'm the Michelin boy. The Michelin boy. The Michelin teen.
Book Club for Movies. That's it. Go to bookclubformovies.com and or at podcast.com.
Yeah.
And or Facebooks and Twitters.
Do it. I don't know. But hey, next week, our Book Club for Movies selection is Face Off starring John Travolta, not Christian Slater. Nick Cage is in this one. If you want John Travolta and Christian Slater, you go back to Broken Arrow. That's a year before this one. Okay. We don't want to watch that one, even though
it was a mini fight. We did kind of think about it.
Samantha Mathis, pretty good. We're gonna go ahead and it's Travolta, it's Cage, it's Woo, it's good.
Woo, it's all I say while I watch it.
Yeah, you're a Woo girl the entire time. You're all Woo.
Yeah, I'm a Woo girl. I'm thinking maybe I'll get my wife into this one too, and I'll just keep saying Woo like I'm excited until it clicks, which it probably never will because I don't think she knows who John Woo is.
You definitely need to sit down with her and watch Clue. She'll like Clue. Everybody likes Clue.
See, I don't know. That's kind of our split. Like she's the Disney movies. Which did I talk about Escape from Witch Mountain yet?
I think in the past we have for sure. Right.
Well, no, that was the remake.
We talked about Race with Witch Mountain, and then we talked about we've talked about them. But
we talked to Race, which is the remake. I watched Escape, which is the old one, because my wife is all about it. She grew up on Pollyanna, Summer Magic. I only know these titles because she likes them. There's another P1. I don't know, Swiss Family Robinson, maybe. That's just a guess.
That's a good one.
Mine are Naked Gun and the like, which I feel like is in the vein of Clue from what I've seen so far. No? Clue
again, Clue is it's not slapstick, and it doesn't play the jokes like Naked Gun does, where it's a constant joke and things in the background are a joke. This is it's a serious movie, but it's the comedic version of a serious situation.
Okay, all right. I think I can't be 100% on it. I will bring her into it, and we'll find out next week.
Give it a shot.
I guess if I watch it this week.
Give it a shot, because it's not. It's funny without being. It's more of a. You know what? I would put it more in the tone of Game Night.
Yeah. See, I don't know.
But toned back, because it's not quite as.
Like her favorite comedies are things we'll get into next week on Book Club for Movies.com.